what's up everyone? My name is Trent. This is Rams Talk. Thank you for tuning in to the Rams versus Redskin game preview. Now before I get into anything, I want to apologize if you hear some noises. Those are my kids going crazy out there. I think they just had drink a Mountain Dew with a Red Bull chaser, so I locked the door from the inside. They're not coming in here, but I can't promise anything else. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do so right here. Aside from the official Rams YouTube channel, this is it. I mean, we've got some other Rams YouTubers out there, and I love them, but this is the place to be. You're going to get content all the time, so I appreciate everyone for joining, all the comments, all the likes, everything. I've been routing people also to my Instagram channel, LA Rams Talk. So a lot of people have been DMing me, got a lot of good stuff, people with great ideas about the Rams offense and just some general questions. So that's a great place to get a hold of me. Also on Twitter at Real LA Rams Talk. I'm also part of the Fan to Fan Network, a bunch of YouTubers like myself from all the different teams. I couldn't collab with the Redskins guy this week, but I'm definitely going to be getting the Niners guys next week because they're super active. And of course, we hate the Niners, so we got to talk to them and represent. And also, I just discovered this app, Flick Chat, a Flick app, and it's essentially like Discord and Reddit and like a Facebook group, like all in one. And I started a Rams group. So download the Flick Chat app, Flick Chat app. Link is going to be in my description and also pinned comment. And I've started there. It's like polls, all kinds of crazy stuff and fun stuff, and it's a great way for all of us to connect during the game. Like we can be messaging and commenting back and forth during the game, because a lot of people leave comments on my YouTube videos during the game, but I'm not, you then have to go to YouTube and go to the video and find it. So this is an easier way. It's like a one-stop shop. So there you go. That's it. Now we're going to dive into this. So yeah, so this week coming up, I think, if a song comes to mind, it's Kendrick Lamar's Humble. Like the last week's game against the Giants, I think kind of humbled us all. And, I'm always going back and forth of like knowing what the Rams could be, especially with their high-powered offense and how good their defense is. I think we all always see the Rams in like their best case scenario. And in last week, they didn't play to that, and that's going to happen. I mean, the Bucs just lost to the Bears. I guarantee you, Buc fans are like, "What the hell just happened?" Teams play close. These are NFL players. So going against the Washington football team, if I say Redskins here, I apologize. It's just old habits die hard. That's the number one takeaway here. The Redskins are a half a game out of first place in the NFC East. So they have a lot to play for. It's the fifth game of the season, half a game out. They're not going to roll over, okay? Yes, they're not as talented as the Rams at almost every position, but they're still going to play hard. It's a Ron Rivera team, and they've scored touchdowns. So it's not like they're so inept on offense. I mean, even Dwayne Haskins has thrown for touchdowns, and they've run for touchdowns. So this is still a decent team, not a great team. They're not garbage, but there's a lot to be desired. The Rams should win this game. So one special shout out to all the subscribers. Thank you so much. But Nathan Oliver, one of my oldest friends, a Washington football team fan, because he's from Virginia originally. But he kind of mentioned switching ships a couple of years ago when the Rams came to LA because he wanted to root for an LA team. So Nate Oliver, this one's for you. We're going to steamroll your Washington team, and then you can come over to the Rams. It's fine. It's fine. So some news and notes. The Washington football team leads the overall series 24-11 and 1. So the Rams need to get this win to make it 24-12. Like I said before, this is like when the Rams are good again. Every game is an opportunity to bump up in the win column in the all-time series against some of these teams, because the Rams really don't have a winning record against that many teams. So this is a good opportunity to do that. Micah Kiser hasn't practiced yet. I don't know if he's practicing today. This is Friday. I'm recording this. I don't expect him to play. Kenny Young was limited in practice yesterday. I expect Kenny Young to play. So this pretty much means this is going to be the Troy Reeder show, everyone. So buckle up. Washington, you have a chance. Troy Reeder's in, but we have some issues at depth at linebacker. I'll get into that in a sec. Chase Young and Terry McLaurin, they've practiced, so it looks like they might be on track to play as well. So we're not, that's fine. Like, give us your best shot. I don't want what ifs, and I want to see the best players against the best players. Two other big injury notes for the Rams to know about regarding the Redskins is that linebacker Matt Ioannidis and guard Brandon Scherf are on IR, so they won't be in the game at all, and that's a huge bonus for the Rams. Cam Akers and Jordan Fuller will play, so that's great. One thing that's everyone talks about the Sean McVay rematch against the Washington Redskins. He hasn't beaten them ever. I think they've only played one time since he's been head coach of the Rams. But I did not know how many, he of course he took some staff coaches with him when he went to LA, but I had no idea that Joe Barry, the linebackers coach for the Rams, was the former defensive coordinator for the Washington football team. Wes Phillips was a tight ends coach there, tight ends coach here. You have Kevin O'Connell, obviously he just came over as an offensive coordinator, and Aubrey Pleasant was also a coach for the Redskins. So those are 5 people, including McVay, 5 coaches that were one-time Washington football team coaches. So it's kind of like a Washington light, or if you will. So let's just dive into this. So the keys to the game, I'm messing with the format every time, but keys to the game for me is overall, generally speaking, the Rams need to look like the Rams. Because for 2 quarters, for the first half against Buffalo, they didn't. And pretty much all game, except for the first drive of the Giants game, they didn't. So it's just getting back in sync. The defense was great last week. They struggled in the first half against Buffalo. So can we get a full team effort and look crisp and look efficient and look clean for 4 quarters? I think, look at seeing the offense fire on all cylinders, or, most cylinders would be great. So let's just get back in sync. And in order to do so, we're going to need to have a lot of things working for us. And number 1 is going to be getting the running game back. I think we had, just under 60 yards of rushing last week, or just over 60 yards. I'm talking about running backs, really. Under 60 yards rushing last week. The Rams this season average 142 rushing yards per game, so well below their average. We get Cam Akers back, so I'm really interested. This is the first time we really will have all 3 running backs ready to go, because Darrell Henderson really wasn't ready to go week 1. Then Cam Akers, and then he was week 2, but we had never seen the Darrell Henderson show until Cam Akers went out on the first drive of week 2, and then Darrell Henderson comes in and takes over. So then it's Darrell Henderson with some Malcolm Brown, and now you have Cam Akers in after Darrell Henderson's gone big. So really interested to see how they work the 3 of these running backs. I would expect that it's going to be Akers and Darrell Henderson. However, every time we go with Akers or Henderson, it's Brown. And usually they use Brown, or McVay uses Brown, when he doesn't feel good about pass protection. So if the Washington defense is getting home and creating lots of pressure and they're blitzing a lot, expect to see more Malcolm Brown. And a lot of people last week were why did you leave Henderson, the hot hand? And first of all, Darrell Henderson was not the hot hand last week. He was cool hand Hendo. But a lot of it really goes to what I think McVay has realized, or what he's kind of going with, at least at this stage in the season, is playing risk-free, keeping control, not having as many turnovers, not going, just not avoid being risk averse. And I think Malcolm Brown gives them that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Malcolm Brown actually lead the team in touches or be second behind Darrell Henderson or Cam Akers. The reason why they have a chance to flourish is that the Washington defense is 23rd against the run in terms of opponents' yardage. So, the Rams are averaging 144. The Washington defense is pretty porous against the run, so I think this is a good opportunity to really reestablish it. Whereas the Giants' defense was good. It was stout. That front 7, those defensive tackles and those linebackers were really stout against the run. So Washington is not like that. So I'm hopeful that the Rams can get back and kind of assert their will. Plus, it's an East Coast game, so the Rams will show up and be ready to go. So that's the I think the first part of this game is just getting the Rams running game on track, and they're 7th in terms of yardage in terms of rush per game. So staying with this, so running the ball, but also avoiding Kendall Fuller. Now, Kendall Fuller is no one's gonna he's not Tre'Davious White, he's not Jalen Ramsey. He's not one of these cornerbacks that's just like a complete shutdown corner, but he's the best corner they have, and their secondary is not that great. So whoever he's guarding, maybe don't test that side as much, because then you have pretty much the whole rest. It's almost like the Giants with Garrett Bradbury. Now, unless they play zone, and so then you're going to have different looks with zone, but if it's more of a man, you want to stay away from Kendall Fuller, because the weak spot, the secondary is the weak spot on their defense. Now, I listened to some podcasts, the Locked On Washington Football Team podcast, just to get some context. So a lot of these things, a lot of these insights about the Washington Football Team comes from that. And so basically they were saying pick on the other cornerback, Ronald Darby. He has been beat for a long pass in 3 out of the last 4 games. The Rams don't really go vertical. I don't know if that's more of a reserving, keeping the play and calling vanilla, or just they're not getting separation, or the other defenses are playing more of a soft zone and not letting anything get over the top. Also with the safety, Troy Apke, not a great job tackling and diagnosing. So essentially, if you have Darby and Apke on one side, that's kind of the side you probably want to pick on. Landon Collins is going to be on the other side, or going to be on another side, and then we also have Fuller as well. Now, Landon Collins will probably be assigned to Tyler Higbee, along with some of the linebackers, and I'll get to that. Actually, I'll skip forward and go to that. So another key to the game is going to be Higbee versus Landon Collins, because we always think of John Johnson matching up against the other team's opposing tight end. It's pretty similar with one of the safeties for the strong safety for Washington, Landon Collins. We all know Landon Collins. I feel like Landon Collins even has an interception against us from back in the day when he was on the Giants. Washington can't guard tight ends. Like I said, this is coming from the guy from Locked On Rams, to save their lives. They have given up 5 touchdowns to tight ends so far this year. Mark Andrews with a couple, Goddard and Ertz one each, and tight end for Cleveland also gave up a touchdown. So this is a good game for Higbee to feast. But Landon Collins also missed a ton of tackles and hasn't been good in coverage. So Higbee is a bigger guy, and I think he can really get free here. The middle of the field is going to be wide open, and I think Higbee, like I said, Higbee, Everett, whatever they do across the field, middle of the field, is going to be key. But Higbee versus Landon Collins is going to be a big matchup. I would like to see Higbee go big in this week, because he hasn't really done much. This is also like Malcolm Brown, keeping him back for pass protection. That's why Higbee hasn't had a big game the last couple of weeks, because he's been blocking. He hasn't really been going crazy. Also talking about the middle of the field, the linebackers. Now the linebackers, they have a lot of speed, but they're not great in coverage. Especially Pierre Lewis, not great in coverage, and John Bostic, good in short underneath coverages, but not great in long coverage. So, you got to find out what the strengths and weaknesses are of these linebackers, and then exploit them. Whether it's, if you've got Pierre, then these guys can run sideline to sideline, but they can't really stay with someone if it's longer distances. So I expect Higbee to, if he's not blocking the whole game, to really have his presence felt in this one. The other thing is limit their pass rush. So now that Chase Young is back, he's going to be lining up against Rob Havenstein. That's going to be huge, because I feel really good about Andrew Whitworth going against Montez Sweat on the other side. He's a second-year player, and between Sweat and Young, that's a pretty formidable pass rush. I mean, who knows how close to 100% Young is going to be coming back from a groin injury. But Young versus Havenstein is going to be the matchup. Now, if it was Young versus Whitworth, then that would be pretty awesome. But I'd rest much more assured knowing that Whitworth has got that. So Havenstein versus Chase Young is going to be huge. And then Daron Payne one of their D tackles, he's good in spurts. So like, he's one of those guys who can take over for a while, but then you don't hear from him for a while. So he can collapse the pocket. He can create some havoc there, but hopefully we catch him on an off day. Because, if Washington can bring the pressure, then we got to keep Higbee back. We got to keep Malcolm Brown in there. And that's not how we want to really roll. We want to get our weapons out. We want to use different player combinations and not just be stuck. I mean, we ran 13 personnel, which is 1 running back, 3 tight ends last week, almost 20% of the time. We never really do that. That's because the pass rush the front 7 were really getting in to the Rams backfield and really stunting the Rams. So maybe that's a formula. We'll see if Washington tries to duplicate that. Now, creating turnovers and capitalizing on them is going to be a huge thing for the Rams. So the Rams are still +1 in turnover differential, and the Washington football team is, I want to say, -2. So it's not that the turnover differential is not crazy. But the thing is with the Washington football team, what breaks their back is that they'll get the last 2 weeks against Baltimore and Cleveland, they had 5 turnovers, and 4 of those resulted in touchdowns. No, sorry. They gave the ball over 5 times. 4 of them were turnovers. 1 was a missed field goal. And out of those 5 times, 4 of them, all of them resulted in touchdowns in 3 plays or less. So 5 basically turnovers. All of them resulted in touchdowns in 3 plays or less. You go to the Baltimore game last week. McKissick fumbles the ball. 2 plays later, the Ravens score. So missed a field goal. Within 3 plays later. I mean, and that's a sizable, yardage to go. Baltimore scores a touchdown. So it's kind of like a double gut punch. So when Washington turns the ball over, the defense doesn't hold the other team to a field goal. They give up a touchdown. They've been doing that. So they've really been compounding mistakes, whereas the Rams might turn the ball over, but the other team is not going to score a touchdown all the time. Maybe they punt, maybe they kick a field goal. So Washington has really, really hurt themselves with the turnovers that lead to 7 so quickly like this. Like it's not like they turn the ball over and then there's a long, 6-minute drive down the field and then the other team scores. It's just turnover, play, touchdown, turnover, play, touchdown. And so, last week is a different week. 2 weeks ago is a different week. This is not necessarily a trend with that many data points behind it to say that this is almost a certainty, but this is kind of what their defenses happened to their defense off of these turnovers. Jalen Ramsey against Terry McLaurin. This is a crazy, amazing matchup if the Rams play man. McLaurin is their number 1 offensive weapon. Yes, Antonio Gibson is their number 2, but it is Terry McLaurin. And the Rams pretty much play lots of zone, which is weird. Like, why do you have Jalen Ramsey if you're always playing zone? But it's always good to have Jalen Ramsey. I would think that if you shut down Terry McLaurin, you pretty much shut down the Washington offense. So I'm hoping that this would be a great, just like, hey, you cover this guy the entire game, Jalen, and you just lock him down. He gets nothing because McLaurin has twice as many catches and 3 times as many yards as any other player on their roster. He's their everything. You know why? Because their Sims is out this week. So Isaiah Wright, Dontrell Inman, and Logan Thomas are their other weapons outside of Antonio Gibson, who does line up and catch a lot of passes. But you take out Terry McLaurin and it's like you cut off the head and the body dies. And that's Terry McLaurin is the head. It's not the QB. It's Terry McLaurin. So this is a perfect Jalen Ramsey. Just take him out. And the Rams have only given up 1 touchdown to opposing wide receiver this entire season with Stephon Diggs against Jalen Ramsey. But, Stephon Diggs is really good. So, and they had a bunch of other weapons to worry about. So that's, to me, for the Rams on defense, it's Jalen Ramsey time. Let's just shut McLaurin down. Speaking of Antonio Gibson, we have to limit him as the Rams gave up 5+ yards per carry against the Giants. And their running game sucks. At the same time, Daniel Jones had 40-something yards rushing, so I think that factors in heavily to that. But the Washington football team is 29th in rushing with 92 yards per game. But Gibson leads the team with 3 touchdowns. So out of the skill position players. And he's good. It's just, you put him on another team, he's going to be way better. He's just not good on the Washington football team. Their offensive line is not great. Like I said, Sheriff is out. Their tackles are, like, both of them are in the mid to lower end of the rankings. Their guards are okay. Their center's not the greatest. So Antonio Gibson, though, did you know he's the offensive coordinator, Scott Olson? I can't remember. He said that Gibson is probably 60-40 receiver to running back in terms of how they like to use him. He came out of Memphis, just like Darrell Henderson, and he lines up as a wide receiver. He even did it against Baltimore. I was watching that. He has 10 receptions for 98 yards on the season. So Gibson, it's the Gibson Mclaren show. I really wouldn't be worried about Logan Thomas or Dontrell Inman or Isaiah Wright. It's those two guys. And then also Kyle Allen. So, I mean, the big news, we can sit here and talk about Dwayne Haskins is out, but I don't think that really matters. No, Dwayne Haskins didn't strike fear in the hearts of anyone, and Kyle Allen is in. Now, let's not get this twisted. It's not like they're bringing in Nick Foles. This is not a Nick Foles situation. This is a Kyle Allen situation, who had a hot start last year with Carolina after Cam went down, but you know, he's a UDFA, no knock against UDFAs, but he's a backup QB. And he might give them a little bit of a spark in this game. But the key for the Rams is to make him not look like a starting quarterback in this league. He's mobile. And when I say mobile, he's not like a Lamar Jackson or even Daniel Jones. He just can move in the pocket and make throws on the run, buy some extra time. But he's not accurate. He's not. And that's kind of the main trait you want from a quarterback, right? He can run the offense better because it's the same offense from Carolina. And as Haskins couldn't get past the third or fourth read, Kyle Allen can process that. But he had 19 touchdowns and 16 interceptions last year and 13 fumbles. He turned the ball over 29 times last year. Let that sink in 13 games. So he's not a good quarterback. Maybe he's a serviceable quarterback, but it's like how we felt as Rams fans when it looks like we got Kellen Clemens for the next 10 games. How confident do you feel about that? You're like, well, we're done. Maybe the defense or Tavon Austin returns a couple punts and we're fine, but like, don't be fooled. Kyle Allen is not the answer. Like I said, he might give him a little boost, but it's Kyle Allen, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson, and that's it. Okay, so the Rams just need to treat this team like this team is a bottom 10 team. Okay, so this is the Rams need to just put the foot on the gas here. Last couple of notes here is third and outs. Washington football team is last in third down conversion rate. Kind of like the Giants were pretty terrible in stopping third downs, opponents' third downs. So usually when the Washington football team is on the third down, they don't convert. So let's keep it that way. Also, our pass rush. These are two questions for the Rams. Our pass rush. So last week we saw a shift in snaps on the defensive side where Ebecombs went down, Obos went up, Hollins went up, Burgess was in there. We have Terrell Lewis, who might play this week. Morgan Fox got some more snaps. So how's this going to shake out, especially at the outside linebacker position? I don't expect Samson Ebukam. I think he's going to continue to trend down in terms of snaps. I think this is going to be, we're going to see more Obo, and who knows with Lewis, if they give him a couple reps, just get him in there. I don't think if he plays, it's going to be a heavy dosage. So same with Justin Hollins. Morgan Fox has also been great. My wife is blending something right now. Out of all the times to blend something, why right now? But I like Morgan Fox. He's been good. And, of course, AD on the interior, I think he's going to get home because the interior of the Washington line is the soft spot, so to speak. And then this is probably the biggest question for me is who are our linebackers? So if Kaiser doesn't play, let's say Kenny Young does, we're going to get Troy Reeder out there. Natrez Patrick will be in the mix. But if Jordan Fuller is going to be back, does that mean Taylor Rapp now plays inside the box on these like short plays or running plays? Do we bring someone up from the practice squad, Rosenboom or Batuli? So the linebacker position, the fact that I'm realizing is that we just don't have a lot of depth at that position because now it's hurting because if Kaiser's out, that's bad stuff. He has a pec injury. He missed all last season with a pec. So hopefully, even if he doesn't play this week, hopefully it's not too serious and he can get back on the field next week. But that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. At the end of the day, the Washington football team offense is 30th in scoring and total yards. Their defense is 22nd in scoring and 7th in giving up yards. The Rams are a better team. Let's look sharp. Let's just dominate. Kyle Allen has no business on the field. Jalen Ramsey locked down Mclaren. This should be pretty simple. I just want to see a night. I want to feel good about this win. I don't want to be freaking out with 5 minutes to go, waiting on a Darius Williams playmaking interception to win this game, okay? I want to win this game comfortably. I'm predicting the Rams to win 27-13. And watch now, they're going to score in the 30s. So I'd rather shoot low and have them go high. So that's it, reverse psychology. So anyways, there you go. I didn't get into PFF grades, this, that, and the other. I just kind of want to talk about these other things. I hope you guys like the show. Like I said, find me on Instagram, Real LA Rams Talk. No, LA Rams Talk. Twitter, Real LA Rams Talk. Fan to Fan Network, and on the Flick Chat app, which will be a link in my bio. I appreciate you all. I love you all. Thank you, Rams fans. Please subscribe. Watch another video. Nathan Oliver, the bandwagon is rolling. Jump on board. And as always, everyone, go Rams. Oh yeah, post-game live stream. Be there. Caught it.